Little sippy sip of C4. I'm assuming that's a C4 in your coffee mug. Welcome to Chris Strub Unmuted. I'm Chris Strub, and today we're talking HYROX with my good buddy, Brian Lutz.
The 8 stations in and of themselves are just a lot of fun for me, like between the sled push and the sled pull and the ergs and everything else. Like, it's hard. I'm not going to lie to you. It really, it's taxing on you, but it's something that you can fully look back on and you'd be proud of yourself.
This is Chris Strub Unmuted, a show designed for open dialogue, honest reflection, and uncensored truths about the lives that we lead. Today's episode looks at HYROX, and I'm so glad to have a fellow enormous Dallas Cowboys fan on the call with me today. This is my good buddy, Brian Lutz. Brian, always a pleasure to see you, my friend.
We're just starting out the show, fake news, right out of the gate, aren't we?
We are hitting it hard. Brian is actually a Philly-based massive Eagles fan. That's why I split the difference for you. I got my Run Philly. Did you notice that too?
Yeah, I did. You're a walking contradiction.
I mean, I think that should be my LinkedIn bio, man. Chris Strub, walking contradiction. Right. So, Brian, before we dive into HYROX, thank you for taking the time. I know you're a very busy guy, Chief Marketing Officer at Elite Consulting Partners. Give me 30 to 60 seconds on the work that you do and how people can connect with you.
Sure. So Elite Consulting Partners is the largest third-party recruiter in the financial services space. If you want to stick with the NFL theme, think of us as the sports agent for a financial advisor who's looking to move from one team to another. So for a financial advisor who wants to either move independent or move from wirehouse to wirehouse, we help facilitate those moves to get those advisors the best deal possible.
And congratulations. I mean, CMO, that's a hell of a role. I mean, and you're doing some great work. So congratulations. And love to support any way that we can. Brian, we connected through our shared love of social media. And I wanted to ask you to start our conversation. How does it feel to be the 5th best fantasy football manager in the 10-man or 9-man, 1-woman social media pros fantasy football league?
Well, listen, I have to say that my rise to the title that I have today is largely due to the network, and I'm very grateful to be a part of the incredible thought leadership of this fantasy football team that is exclusive to the digital marketing space, because there is a lack of intelligence in fantasy football. I'll say strategy, whether that be draft strategy, whether that be the waiver wire management. I think no one has felt the pain from that more than you have, so I appreciate you for that. But yeah, it was a tough year last year for me. I am very grateful to have my name on the trophy, trademark, if I am remembering that correctly. But yeah, no, it's a fun group. It's a fun team. It's one of the only leagues that I've ever been in that has a year-round chat, and I'm grateful for that as well.
And you are the first of, I'm going to try and get everyone, I think, in that league onto the podcast at one point or another. Some might be a little more difficult than others. I think maybe we do a whole season, when we get to August, we'll do like the pre-draft chat where, and everybody in that chat loves Chris Strub. That's really the theme throughout the year is, that admiration and respect for how great a fantasy football manager I am. In fact, last time I won the trophy, it was mailed back to me from the great city of brotherly love, which was nice. I wanted to cut out that return address and just tape that to my wall with my my HYROX patch. I can just put them right next to each other here now that I am a HYROXer. So Brian, we have limited time today. You and I also share a love of Orangetheory Fitness. So we're going to get to HYROX in a minute, but let's talk about the journey to HYROX. You've done this, I think, 5 times now, but we've both done a million Orangetheory classes. You talk about kind of how Orangetheory has been sort of a stepping stone and other fitness stuff that you do to get you into the HYROX space.
Sure. I mean, you think about HYROX. HYROX itself, at its core is a running race. And there are stations in between each of the legs of the race, but nothing's more important in a HYROX race than your cardiovascular fitness. And that's really where I think Orangetheory has helped me be a better hybrid athlete, if I could use that term. I've been with Orangetheory for, gosh, almost 9 years now. I think May 2017 was my first class.
Wow.
And I just surpassed 1,300 classes just a couple of weeks ago. You mentioned my wife. I met my wife at Orangetheory. Natalie's coming up on 1,500 classes. So to say that we've drank the orange Kool-Aid would be an understatement.
That's pretty fitting that Natalie is always just a step ahead of you. I think that's a nice theme for the marriage. You know,
Yeah.
like, she's also a better fantasy football manager than you are. So
I'm not going to deny that, but you know, I've always tried to reach further than my grasp in all aspects of my life, and my marriage was no different.
you had a nice viral moment actually at Orangetheory. You want to tell that story real quick? I know you've told it probably 10 million times, but we want to hear it on the podcast too, that you connected with Natalie. Yeah.
Met my wife at Orangetheory, proposed at Orangetheory. This was a class that I had orchestrated through the studio manager. You know, we met at Orangetheory during COVID times, and our first date was when the city started to open back up. And we had put a small group together to go do some things. I think it was an axe throwing event. And it was St. Patrick's Day weekend. We were out into the city with a few Orangetheory members, and one thing led to another. There was a kiss that was followed by a first date. And about 8 or 9 months later, there was a proposal. The ring was hidden in one of the Reebok decks. And at the end of class, when the coach was running us through a warm-up, I kind of interrupted her. She knew what was going on. I went through the plan with her, and I asked her if there was not one more movement on the Reddit thread that we had all read before class was taken.
Oh, look at you. Yeah. Yep.
Those of you who listen to the pod know that Reddit has a strong following in the Orangetheory community, and everyone's very grateful for our Australian friends who post the template prior to
shout out,
wake up in the morning.
Mr. and Mrs. DC, another famous Orangetheory couple. Go on.
Right. No, Mosman, Australia, the Mosman studio out there. We love them. But yeah, I hid the ring in the deck. I asked the coach if there wasn't more, maybe a weighted lunge at the end of the class.
That's so Brian. Yep.
I got down on one knee and I took the ring out of the deck, and she said yes, and it was a great day.
The weighted lunge. Well, we love Natalie. She is just, she's just a wonderful, wonderful human being. We got to get Natalie on the podcast at some point too. Right?
She's great. Yeah. She's also uber successful, which is one of the reasons why I'm just enormously attracted to her. But yeah, she herself does a number of different things, even outside of Orangetheory. I think she has 3 at this moment, full unlimited memberships, Orangetheory, F45, and a Pilates studio.
Wow.
And she runs outside because she's just a rock star.
She does everything. And a dog mom, shout out Kelsey.
Shout out to Kelsey, our little Cavapoo. He's a little older than 2 now, but yeah, loves that dog to death. She's the full package. I
got to meet Kelsey, hang out with you guys. I grabbed this Run Philly headband at the Philadelphia half marathon last November. I got to drag both Brian and Natalie kicking and screaming. They do not, with all this fitness stuff that Brian can brag about, the one thing that I can't get these two to do is run more half marathons with me. So if you see them out there signing up for 13.1, that is a rarity, but we made it happen. We had a great time in Philly. You invited me back to your house afterwards. I got to meet Kelsey, and it was awesome. Like we love the Lutz family. I told you that if you made the trip, I'd get out there and do it with you, because I'm not a distance guy. A 5K is my sweet spot. HYROX is a little bit longer than that, but 8K. 8K and change at HYROX there, and that doesn't count the 75,000 steps that Jake and I took walking around Miami Beach this weekend, spectating, doing all that fun stuff. So we want to dive into HYROX a little bit. Brian, when was your first HYROX, and how many events have you done? My first was June 2024. I did it with a friend of mine who, much like you, convinced me to do the half marathon. She convinced me to do HYROX in New York, June 2024. Immediately fell in love with it. The energy, the vibe, training for the actual event was a lot of fun too. But
one of the things that I really like about HYROX is that it's a mix of strength and cardio. And so unlike a half marathon or a marathon, it's not just straight running. It's broken up into those 8 sections. And the 8 stations in and of themselves are just a lot of fun for me, like between the sled push and the sled pull and the ergs and everything else. Like, it's hard. I'm not going to lie to you. It really, it's taxing on you, but it's something that you can fully look back on and you'd be proud of yourself. And one of the things that I really enjoyed that you posted about is first time HYROXers now, when they finish the race, they get the patch that you just showed, but they're looking for the medal. They're looking for a t-shirt. They're looking for something, but that's what you get in the memory, right? And so question that I actually had for you is, what are you going to do with the patch?
I don't know. And Brian, I'll reveal to you, I just interviewed Mama Strub about HYROX right before this, which I was like, I'm going to talk to one of the most experienced HYROXers I know, but I think it would be really interesting perspective to talk to someone who has no clue what is going on. And anytime I can talk to my mom, it's like almost as cool as, talking about how much I love Natalie. Like, so it's up there with, so I know you can't see, but you've seen pictures of my studio here where I have all of my medals kind of hanging around the wall here. I don't know. I mean, if you have a creative idea, you're a creative guy. So we'll have to spitball it. Maybe we'll ask the social media pros what makes the most sense. Maybe I'll just get it like tattooed on my arm, like just like embedded in there, right? Like it's got a chip or something in it.
So you're just going to work yourself up a sleeve as you do more races?
What have you done with yours?
So you might have seen this at your HYROX race, is that what most people do is they have like a tactical backpack that has Velcro on the back, and they'll just attach it's really kind of a really annoying way to say, hey, look at me and how many races that I've done. But I also think that HYROX has a really great idea where they've made like a little smaller kettlebell where they've cut out an inside and it's got Velcro on it, so you can attach so it's almost like a metal display case. Yeah.
Was that the one that was on sale? I didn't realize there was I saw the mini kettlebells like in line there, but I didn't realize it was built to hold
it's inset. Oh. Yeah, it's inset with some Velcro in it, and you can attach your patch to that little kettle.
I didn't do my shopping. And so we went on at 7 p.m. on Sunday, which was, I would say, not the best time of the weekend to go.
Yeah, you got the short end of the straw there.
You know me, I'm a wrestling fan. I came to Philly for WrestleMania a couple years ago. Like, I was thinking about it like we're the main event, right? Like we're waiting. Everyone wants to see Strub and Jake come on and do what we do best, which is not burpee broad jumps. As you saw on the data there, Brian, I want to ask you, as we're both marketers here, just holistically about HYROX as a brand and the experience. Again, you said you've done 5 of these now. What is it about HYROX, the brand and the game day experience, if you will, that makes it so compelling for people like you and me who have a lot of choices as to what we do and where we go with our time, money, and energy?
Well, I'll tell you, the thing that I love the most about HYROX is probably the thing that I love the most about Orangetheory as well, is that there's so much data available to you about what you're doing in the race, right? Yeah. And so, although I couldn't be in Miami to watch you and Jake run your race, one of the things that I really liked was the third-party app that allowed me to track your run. Mm-hmm. And as I'm sitting on my couch, enjoying a glass of wine while you're burning 1,200 calories, running this race for 119 minutes.
We got those calories back.
79 minutes. I don't doubt it, but
Jake loves to eat, man. And so do I. But Jake is an eater. That should be station 9. Go on. Yeah.
Listen, how fast can you put down a burger? No, I mean, I think one of the things that I really like about HYROX is the amount of data that's available to you. And, much like a marathon, the average marathoner is not going out there to win. They're actually going out there to compete against themselves and to beat their times, whether that's your finishing time or a particular split or a segment within that race. That's what I really enjoyed about HYROX as well. But HYROX, I mean, give it up for them. I think I saw something that they did $130 million last year. They're on pace to do about 220 this year. And that is just increases in the number of races, attendance of the races, the strategic partnerships that they've generated. They've really done a great job of building up the excitement around this brand, and they've found a niche of people who are looking for something a little bit different and making it accessible to everyone around the globe. So long story short, I think their marketing team does an exceptional job of finding who the elite athletes are and tracking them to give you something to aspire to, but also telling the stories of the everyday athlete who's going out there to accomplish something really difficult.
Yeah, and I wanted to tell you too. By the way, Brian is my dude. Like, we have been, me and Jake this is our first HYROX, and I, without permission, added Brian to a 3-guy group chat on Instagram back like in December, and have just been hammering this guy with questions. So the only reason that we were able to beat the Brian and Natalie doubles time by about a minute, which I will be mentioning in every single conversation for the rest of my life, is because Brian basically gave us all of their secrets and all of the tips to optimize our strategy going into this HYROX event. And so, I agree with you 1,000%. Jake and I spent a couple hours late that night, just kind of shared an Airbnb. We're in beds across from each other, just staring at our phones like, oh my God, look at this. And you could go back and compare historically any race. We weren't at the same venue, but the race structure is so similar that we can look piece by piece at how we did versus how you guys did, for example.
Right.
And I'm gonna have Jeff, our editor, put this screenshot up. I'm gonna screenshot it now, so I remember to send this to him, because I always do that. I talk about stuff on the podcast, and I'm like, Jeff's gonna throw this up there, and then when he's editing it, he's like, "What do you want me to do?" So I apologize for that, Jeff, but looks like you guys absolutely smoked us. We were some of the worst burpee broad jumpers in the world.
That's all Natalie. Natalie loves a burpee. Burpees hate to see her coming.
Yeah. I messaged Natalie about this the other night. She's like, I got to do the full, and as much as we love Natalie, she's not a big gal. Like, she's a little muscle hamster, but she's not big where like she's going to be able to push these things naturally. So all that training and those 3 annual memberships really add up when you're just throwing your entire weight behind this stuff. But
and I don't know if the audience knows, or your listeners, but like when you run a mixed doubles, the females have to do the men's weight. And so Natalie, 5'1" on a good day, maybe, gosh, I don't even know what she weighs, but it's not a lot. She's a stick, but she's super lean. We say small but mighty, but that little girl is pushing that sled that I think is north of 300 pounds for the men. Like, it's just, she's super strong and she's super fit. And once she gets going, she's like my little Energizer bunny, man. She just doesn't stop. And so the splits are all really consistent. And it's a lot of fun to run with her. I love it.
It's such a fun, like, game day experience. I was telling Jake, like, this is the closest we'll ever be to being pro athletes. They get you hyped up in the tunnel beforehand. They serve you the Red Bull in little cups. And, when you line up 40 cups of Red Bull in front of Chris Strub when he's about to go take, like, they're lucky they didn't run out of Red Bull. Sunday night is Easter Sunday. That was my Easter feast, was just a gallon of Red Bull at 6:55 p.m. No wonder we were awake till 2:00 in the morning, but it was such a cool experience. Brian, what is your upcoming HYROX schedule?
So Natalie and I are going to both run New York in June of this year. She's going to do her first solo. This is going to be my second solo, meaning that we're going to do everything individually on our own. I think this may be my last solo. I love it. It's hard, but I'd much rather run with somebody else because you get to split the stations. And then I think Natalie and I are looking at Toronto at the end of the year. I think that's first week in November. But I want to put one more race. I want to put one more race on the calendar, and a buddy of mine has been flirting with the idea of running a men's doubles, but I'm waiting for him to commit.
Ooh, well, that's an interesting value proposition. That was the last question on my list. Is Brian, we're both pretty quick dudes at this point in our lives. How fast do you think you and I could go if we paired up and did a doubles?
With or without a shirt?
No shirts. There's no shirt. I'm still angry at Jake for wearing a shirt. Jake, when we post all our photos, and by the way, our photos came in. Did I send you I told you that our photos got messed up and our finish time. Did I show it to you?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Like a minute, right? Or an hour.
I think people would believe that Jake and I ran 1 hour flat. Like, that's not too crazy, right? Like,
the pose that you were striking with that time behind you looks like you ran about a mile or about an hour. But yeah, I mean, I think you and I running a HYROX would be really quick. We need to find a time to do it.
I think it'd be a great time, dude. Brian, I really appreciate your time. You were just on behalf of me and Jake, like the rookies here, we wanted to say thank you. I did want to ask you one more thing though, just as the, because we have a couple more minutes here. I know you got to get back to work, but for someone who is listening to this, who is considering running their first HYROX, and I say running because it really is running, right? It's mostly running, and then you're interrupted by this other stuff that you're doing. Yeah. But Jake and I did men's doubles. I think that was the right move. You've done 5 of these now. You said singles is really hard. You want to do one more singles and then maybe go back to doubles permanently. If you're making that decision between singles or doubles, why should someone lean doubles?
Doubles is a great entry into the event because although you have to run the entire distance, you can split up the stations. And one of the reasons why I love running with Natalie is that she's stronger at some of the stations than I am. Like burpee broad jumps as an example, that girl can burpee forever. But like the ski ergs, the rower, I'm longer than she is, I'm stronger than she is. So the farmer's carry, the sled push, the sled pull, I'll do a majority of that weight. But even if you were to have 2 people who are, somewhat similar in terms of levels of fitness and speed outside, it's so great to have a little bit of a break in between those stations, because for someone who's never run one before, you're learning to run on compromised legs. And what that means is you're doing an exercise that is absolutely going to gas out your legs, and then you have to go run a kilometer, 0.6 miles. So, and really it's more than that, because you've got to get out to the track to then run that 0.6.
The old rock zone. Yep.
Right. So I would say for people who are interested in doing it, find a doubles partner. It's not as hard as it looks like it is on Instagram, although the HYROX account will show the elite athletes a lot, but
it honestly wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. I know that sounds awful, and it is hard, don't get me wrong, but like if you train and you're prepared and you have an idea of what's to come, it wasn't impossible by any means. Right? Like especially with the sandbags, like, you have the weight distributed over your shoulders. The farmer's carry really isn't that bad. Like the erg and the row are basically nothing. They're just kind of there to slow you down, but
it's a technique and form. Once you get that down, the race itself is relatively easy.
Well, I got to work on my technique. I had my own viral moment during this weekend too, where I actually enjoyed the spectator perspective more than the participating itself. You can look on Instagram and see how this sign kind of worked out. I had the take a gel and my number. So,
But you see, here's the thing, Chris, like great idea, poor execution. And only because you were a rookie within the event, because you are passing out penalties for people who are running the race.
Yeah.
Because you can't take something from the spectators as you're actively running.
And look, to HYROX America, Surf Dating, whoever, I apologize. I legitimately did not know that going in. I'd say the penalty is worth it. So I'm going to give you one last thing. We'll get you out on this, Brian.
No. We're not going to step off this yet. I think you added that in intentionally to increase the virality of the conversations online, because
it's a 2-minute penalty to take something from a spectator. There was one competitor who very kindly this morning, actually 5 days after, commented, "Don't know if this guy's number is worth the penalty." And so I used the HYROX Fit. I'm not going to name her and shame her, but I used the HYROX Fit app to look up the mixed doubles race that she did with a partner a couple years ago. Jake and I beat her by 3 minutes. So I'm like, look, if you ran with me, you take the 2-minute penalty and you still would have done better than your race with this guy. So I think I want to get you out on this to circle back to the OTF proposal idea that the sandbag lunges. Here's my idea for a mixed doubles eventually. When Strub meets his Natalie someday, the end of the lunges, I got to coordinate with those photographers that are running around. Maybe I run up to the end of the lunge tunnel, and while she finishes the last lunge, and then I lunge down in front of her with my little, ring that I can accept a 2-minute penalty. I'll grab it from the crowd. So we'll get a 2-minute penalty there. We still have to do wall balls and shit after that. So that might be a little tough. So we might kind of screw up the plan there, but.
So I think if you go in with one of those silicone rings, I think it's a Red Bull moment for sure.
Look, Brian Lutz, this has been an awesome time. I know you got a lot of work to do, so we're going to let you go. But we will have you back on the podcast. Let's probably plan on August and see if we can get all of the guys and Caitlin to do the Social Media Pros season that I've dreamt of. You're the man. Thank you again so much for taking the time today and for basically being our de facto advisor. The world chess, the chess tournaments going on now. Everybody's got their second that's helping them prepare intensely. Yeah. Brian was our second, for the last 3 months getting into this. So we really
in the mail.
Wonderful. Send it straight to C4 headquarters. All right.
Perfect.
Thanks for listening to Chris Strub Unmuted. Support the show by clicking like and subscribe. Keep up with me on social media at Chris Strub. Brian, how can people keep up with you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram. It's LUTZAGRAM, Lutzgram. And then it's just my name on LinkedIn. So n/Brian Lutz, Brian with an I.
Just look for him at HYROX New York. You're going to have a cute sign for Natalie, I think. There's got to be.
You know what? I can't tell you exactly what's going to happen, but there will be something that I'm bringing with me on the thing.
A renewal of vows perhaps. We'll see. I don't want to spoil anything.
There'll be something.
Thanks for listening to the show. Remember, we are all famous to a few people. Thanks, Brian. Go Cowboys.
Come on, man.